Just Gabe Maynor here, tracking some severe thunderstorms that in northwest Mississippi, once again producing some wind damage potential here, and going to head southeast, kind of like they have the last couple of days, likely to produce sporadic wind damage. Also, the potential that we could, I mean, it's a non-zero chance that this tries to produce a tornado. There is that chance there that we're looking at, but in theory, wind is going to be the main impact with this storm once again. If you get the spin circle there, right click, refresh. Should fix that.
Okay.
So appreciate all the folks, online with us here as we're watching this. So we're not going to keep this, I think, up nonstop. As long as we're talking the 70-mile-per-hour winds, we probably will. Looking at the wind mode here on the Storm Track Doppler radar, again tracking the leading edge of this toward the southeast, and it's kind of the main angle it's going at this point here. You can see we're looking at Potts Camp about 11:19, Hickory Flat 11:28, Darden 11:31, New Albany 11:43, Baker 11:47 there, Pontotoc High School I show about 11:50. Let's assume it keeps going about that same angle that it has gone. We'll bring that, might be a little too sharp on the south side there on that, and it's moved forward a little bit. So don't use those times yet. Let's get it to more exact location. There we go. So Tupelo somewhere around midnight, give or take a little bit. Sherman about 11:54. Verona about 12:15. So this is strong straight line winds, a ton of lightning, meaning more power disruptions, like what we've seen on a number of these storms. There's going to be a lot of the green and red that we see next to each other, but the orientation, which is along the beam here, right? It's along the beam, and so when it's left to right. That's not what I need to use. So since it's kind of in the line along the beam there, that indicates it's more straight line winds. It's when it's kind of on the side here that we get more concerned about the rotation, which is why it's kind of up on the north side here. If it's going to produce something rotating, it's more likely to see that there. And so the leading edge we're noting here is where we have that strong straight line winds. Our meteorologist Gabe Maynor is here monitoring things as well. As we're expecting again, there is a limited chance for tornadoes, Gabe, tonight, but I think as you have noted over on WTVA 9 News at 10 as well, that it's more likely that we're going to have some damaging winds, right?
Yeah, for sure. And already getting some reports of damage over there in Byhalia and folks in Hernando. It's just going to be a widespread wind event, knocking out power, whether it's through those wind gusts or through the lightning strikes. It's just going to be this active system that's kind of bowing out ahead of those main lines. This is also following an outflow boundary, which is what we see right here happening on the southern extent of the storm. We get this wrapping around into the direct path of that storm, and that's why that severe thunderstorm warning was issued, is because it's still adding to what is already a mature and strengthening thunderstorm into the next couple of minutes. So we put a storm track on this earlier, but I want to do one more just with the latest scans to give you guys an idea of when and where we'll be affected over the next couple of minutes. We're seeing the Bethlehem community 11:18, on into Hickory Flat 11:21, Blue Mountain on the south side of Tippett County going to be 11:31, Glenfield 11:38, and then on into New Albany closer to about 11:40. So another late night system. It's important that we stay weather aware through the night, but this is just going to be a straight line wind event as of what we're seeing right now. Let's continue to just expand it out. 11:54 Blue Springs, Guntown at 12:01, and I know my wife up in Saltillo, she's watching right now, 12:06. So we have a little under an hour as it enters into parts of Lee County, but these are going to be damaging wind gusts. We're talking around 60 to 70 miles an hour. We're seeing those bright returns along that leading edge into Potts Camp as we speak, riding I-22. And I'm going to work to find real quick a camera along that I-22 area. So bear with me one moment. This is, it's not a clear image, but it's looking to the east. You can kind of get an idea of what's moving through. I mean, yeah, definitely some, if you wanted an electric storm, this is definitely one. So let me pull it up for you guys real quick as it's moving along I-22. Seeing it right there, just watch that camera. This is just going to be sorry, wrong one. Let me pull it up right here. So yes, this is going to be along I-22. closer to Holly Springs, but you can see Holly Springs right in the thick of it with a lot of that lightning activity. I mean, you see the power, not power flashes, but the flashes of lightning all across I-22 moving through Marshall County right now. A strong thunderstorm and that rain going side to side rather than up and down, just showing you the wind taking that rainfall and going to make that a hazard as well. That looks like a vehicle is stopped underneath the bridge off the side of the road. It looks like a semi. So it shows you to the extent of what we're seeing up around Marshall County. It is going to be a hefty thunderstorm with pretty significant wind gusts. Looking at the latest scans, I'm not seeing anything of note in regards to tornadic activity. This did prompt a tornado warning over in the Hernando area south of Memphis. That nothing confirmed on that yet, but definitely some widespread wind damage within that. So tornado, we're not getting damage reports for sure. Let's look at the latest on power outages, and we'll break this down here real quick of what we're seeing outside and what we're seeing as these storms pass on through. Let me just refresh this here real quick. And yeah, there you go, DeSoto. Let me change it over here real quick. 8,000 people without power in DeSoto County right now. Let's change it over to that monitor to walk you guys through it. And bear with me one moment while it changes over. DeSoto, 8,247 folks without power as we speak. Down in Lafayette, nothing to note so far. In Marshall, still no reports, but these will be coming in more and more over the coming minutes. So just be expecting more to be added into the next couple of minutes. So clearing that out and looking at the latest scans, we are getting some broad rotation on the east side of town in Holly Springs. You're seeing on the north side of 22 close to Higdon. That's going to be riding along Highway 4, but this is broad. Not seeing anything of immediate note for tornadic development. It's still going to be those straight line winds along that leading edge. This is moving at about 50 miles an hour. So if we track that out and just get the, again, latest scans, as this is doing some, it is showing some destruction where those winds are happening. There's a look at the latest times. So folks are going to be impacted. Hickory Flat closer to about 11:24 in the next 5 minutes. Myrtle 11:30. It's going to be in the next 10 minutes. Etta and Blue Mountain 11:36, 11:38. New Albany 11:40. I know I have some family on the east side of Union County. It is going to be impacting you guys further into the evening, talking about 11:45 to 11:50. That's going to be east side Union County, and then on into Ellistown, like we were mentioning, 11:52, Alpine 11:53. Let's extend it out all the way into Lee County just to give folks an idea of when to expect this if it were to continue at this strength. So we're seeing Sherman come in about 12:03, the North Lee County, Saltillo area 12:05 to 12:10, and here at the station we'll be getting it here at about 12:12 if it continues in this southeastern path. So we are keeping eyes on this. Considerable damage. What that means is we're getting a destructive thunderstorm with power outages, power disruptions happening across the region, and trees being uprooted, possibly even some damage to homes with those trees falling down. So looking at the latest on damage reports, just seeing a lot of trees down in the Memphis area, as well as a lot of power disruptions with 8,000 out in DeSoto County. So yeah, still getting some rotation within this thunderstorm, but overall it's going to be those winds. And if we just populate a few of those wind gust returns that we're getting, 50 miles an hour. This is upper atmosphere right now, but that is making its way to the ground, as we've seen through the power disruptions and as we've seen through the damage reports we've received so far. But you'd usually expect that the tornadic development, as Matt was showing you guys, right along this leading edge, wrapping around into the north side of the storm. You can see it right there. Is kind of what we'd expect. You don't really get it right here where we're getting the strongest wind returns. This makes it more of a straight line wind event. And so that's why we're expecting damaging winds, but not an immediate tornadic threat. So fortunately, that is a fortunate thing. It's also an unfortunate thing because damage is still occurring. This warning is issued until midnight, and I know it's not encompassing. It's moving in that southeast direction. We usually look at that warning and think, well, it's moving directly southeast. I do want to note that this has more of an eastern motion to it than a direct southeast. So it's going to be more of, just bear with me while I draw this out. So tracking that right there. This is the path that I believe this to travel if it continues what it has been doing. So looking at these times, Myrtle, I saw someone asking about Myrtle. that is going to be about 11:33. Blue Mountain 11:37, Glenfield 11:41, New Albany 11:43, Baker 11:46, and then Dumas closer to 11:51. We extend that all the way east into the southern Prentiss County and northern Lee County. We're seeing Baldwin 12:06, Hobo Station 12:16, Pratt's about 12:10. So this is going to be impacting folks in northern Lee County, probably through New Albany, and then into Lee and Prentiss County as well. This doesn't show any signs of weakening right now. Those lightning strikes coming in at about 800 to 900, so that's over the last 10 minutes or so. So an electric storm, but this is going to be something that we continue to track. I am going to leave the radar up. We've tracked this out, and I'll put the track up there for you guys as this continues to track in that east-southeast direction. But I'm going to step away for a moment and leave that for folks that are watching right now for a general idea of when to expect these storms moving at about 50 miles an hour. Will come in here in the next 20, 30 minutes or so, or if this were to get a little bit stronger or closer to town, we're going to come back in and break it down even more. Just continue to provide updates through the night, and trust me, we'll be tracking it with you guys all throughout the evening. But yeah, keep it here for the latest. Thank you. Um, it's considerable damage, which means that we want to very late in town, so but hopefully then I'll talk to you in about 30 minutes. Okay, I just want to continue to touch base on what we're seeing across the region. And reason why is because we are still, yeah, just looking at the latest on scans. I've been tracking it behind the scenes, and we're still getting strong returns out of these winds. We're talking 60 to 70 miles an hour. This is high up in the atmosphere, but it is making its way to the ground, as we've seen with reports of damage over in Memphis and lots of power outages across the region. Power poles down. Church sustained roof damage, and a metal building sustained significant damage. That was back in Arkansas. Never mind. Uh, but DeSoto, we did get large trees down across Pleasant Hill Road. So this is a damaging thunderstorm. Do not get me wrong, whether it's tornadic or not. But the reason why I wanted to come back in here and kind of walk through it is because we are getting some more of this interaction of inflow, outflow on the leading edge. And really where we're looking at is right here close to Hickory Flat. We're talking along I-22. And you can see those brighter reds and those greens starting to mix, still a bit of a ways away, but definitely looking more interesting. And on top of that, since it is still so broad, there are several areas of interaction that we're watching. Even this one close to Cornersville, now moving into, let's see, what county is that? Got to expand things out. Um, Over in Union County, I apologize. We are seeing some of that interaction of winds as well. Now, looking at it from the Monroe County radar site, we're kind of between radar sites right now. So we're having to navigate a tough location, but using both, we can kind of gauge where that rotation is taking place. And you can see it right there with that interaction just east of Cornersville on the south side of Hickory Flat. But this entire edge right here is what we're watching for damaging wind gusts to occur 60 to 70 miles an hour. But there you can see that notch, that inflow notch. If we just let me put a circle right there to kind of pinpoint our exact location. That radar looks like where it would be, and we line that up with winds. Yeah, so I mean, you're seeing it on reflectivity, you're seeing it on, um, yes, you're seeing it on reflectivity, and you're seeing it on our winds. And so that's why I wanted to come back on here to kind of track that out. So let's just put a storm track on this primary area of rotation as it moves in that east-southeast motion. We're talking about folks in New Albany seeing that broad rotation take place. So New Albany going to be close to 11:51 here in the next 12 minutes or so. But let's go ahead and walk through town by town. Myrtle, 11:43. Glenfield 11:49, and then on into North Haven by 11:52, New Albany 11:51, like we mentioned. But let's track this entire leading edge of the strong wind gusts. I will say that is getting more interesting. That is looking more interesting on our interaction of winds. Let me see if National Weather Service is looking at anything on this. They continue the severe thunderstorm warning, but not talking about that interaction of winds. I think we're still a few scans away, but definitely paying attention to this interaction of winds. And when we talk about the possibility of tornadoes, what we're discussing is a brief tornado. The atmosphere isn't primed for long-lived, large tornadoes. This will be a brief spin up, but enough to do damage in an isolated location. So Union County, need to be watching this, and we'll be tracking it out for you, at least until those scans become a bit less interesting, should I say. We're going to use that terminology. That leading edge with the winds, tracking that out. And again, this is going to be moving in that east-southeast direction. And we talked earlier about how the warning went way southeast. I just want to look over the last couple of scans, and you're seeing that it is just moving more in an eastward direction than it is a southeast direction. So that is going to take it more towards the northern side of Union County into southern sections of Tippah, and then on into northern sections of Lee County, southern Prentiss. So looking at times, 11:40 Myrtle, so right over the top of you guys right now. Blue Mountain, 11:43 southern Tippah County, like we were mentioning. Probably Blue Mountain, yeah, we're going to keep that. New Albany 11:50, Baker 11:52, Beacon Hill 11:54, Halltown closer to midnight, and then Reese and Alpine closer to about 12:02. Same thing with Ellistown, right along that same general area. But let's take it all the way to Lee County, just so folks are aware as this is moving in. Oh, I do apologize. This seemed to have messed up. Let's draw another outline. So there we go, all the way to Saltillo. We're talking about 1210 Saltillo. Here at the station about 1215. Can't wait for those rumbles of thunder, right? Blue Springs 1202, Sherman 1207. So this is just going to continue to move in that east-southeast direction. So raining pretty hard in Dennis for sure. I mean, heavy rainfall with this. I do have, I think it's still on our other system. Yes. Unfortunately, it is blurry. Let's find another camera over there. So bear with me one moment while I pull this up on a different monitor. Unfortunately, it's just stuck between an area where we don't have a lot of cameras able to see what's happening. This one looking north. Let me just take this and watch it for 1 second to see if oh, well, it took 1 second to find out. So looking at that camera, let me pull it up here real quick. This is looking north in the Blue Springs area, so you should see it on the left-hand side of that camera right there, where a lot of that lightning activity is taking place, kind of focused on that primary area closer to Marshall County, now Benton, and soon to be Tippah County. Yeah, just a high lightning, it's a high energy storm, and it'll continue to be like that as it moves closer to Union, Tippah, and possibly even Pontotoc County. I really think Pontotoc County, that is a bit far south for this, as it has not moved that significantly far south. Union County for sure, but yeah, Pontotoc may luck out and be just too far out of reach. Now, the thing is, and we talked about it a moment ago, that we are talking about 2 radar sites and trying to get a pinpoint location on where this is happening. It is riding this outflow boundary that we have just to the south of it, currently in Oxford, and extending all the way from Darden to Kiel to Oxford, basically riding Highway 30. And that's what's allowing this to continue to remain at a pretty strong thunderstorm, feeding it the energy it needs and allowing it to continue as it moves in that east-southeast extent. Strong winds with this. We were getting some possibility of some hail. And sure enough, yeah, Hickory Flat getting a large hail development. This is probably about 1 to 1.5 inches. So one thing I will say is that we are getting large hail. We are getting those wind returns. So once these storms pass, we do need to submit any damage reports that you have, so that way we can let the National Weather Service know for survey crews to come out tomorrow and assess it. But as of right now, a lot of the damage currently taking place south of Memphis, where we did get the power outages, a lot of power disruptions, as well as some trees uprooted, power poles knocked down, and unfortunately just not a good scene up there as these strong winds. And yes, that was what they were. Strong winds rolled on through. And possibly that microburst where we talk about a pinpoint location, wind spreading out, and strong wind gusts at that of 60 to 70 miles an hour. So looking at the latest, I see a few people asking about Boonville and Jumpertown. Boonville, you are probably going to be, when this does issue another warning, if this weakens over the next couple of scans, then we won't see another warning. But if it remains at what it's at, definitely going to see the warning be extended up into the rest of Tippah County and then Prentiss and Lee County as well. So I'll go ahead and draw a storm track out for you guys along the leading edge as it moves at about 50 miles an hour. And you can kind of get an idea of when it will be affecting you. And I'm going to include Boonville in there. I do think there is a chance that the main heart of this storm moves south, but going ahead and including that, including folks in Prentiss County in that risk, Boonville coming in at about 12:17. So 12:15 to 12:20, that's when I would expect it. So that's here in the next, 30 minutes, 35 minutes or so. So enough time to get prepared and get to where you need to be. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty strong thunderstorm rolling on through. Tupelo and Nettleton, we talked earlier. Nettleton, I would say, is going to be too far south based off of where we're looking at this storm motion going, kind of staying in that east-southeast direction, not building too far to the south. So Tupelo, not out of the threat, definitely could see that roll into Tupelo, but I do foresee this staying just a bit more on the northern Lee County side. So let's track that out. I can go ahead and include Tupelo in there for when you need to be staying the most weather aware, and just in case we do need to take action. And as it moves into, let me make sure it's included. And this is if it takes a much more southeast direction. We're talking about 1223. I wouldn't say safe place right now, but definitely be ready to act if this were to get a little bit more organized. But we will see some damage come out of this, and that's going to be because of these strong straight line winds. Looking at some of these scans, and I'll go ahead and highlight a few of the strongest wind gusts that we're seeing. This is high up in the atmosphere, so it's not exactly what's happening on the ground, but a lot of it is translating to the ground. So 54 miles an hour up to 60 miles an hour at times, still going to be affecting our area. Earlier was coming in at about 65 to 70 miles an hour. So getting better, if you can say that, but still a severe thunderstorm warning being issued through midnight. Just making sure that they are not extending this as of right now. They're going to hold off with this warning as long as they can because it is still in the extent of the warning. But once it starts to move out, that's where we'll see that next warning be issued. And folks in Prentiss County, Northern Lee County, the rest of Union and Tippah County going to be included in that. They might take it as far east as Itawamba County, but we do have some time before then. And this is a destructive thunderstorm. And what we mean by that is that power outages can be expected, as well as some strong wind gusts that take out some of those trees and power lines as well. Looking at the latest of power outages, talking about power lines, we are seeing Marshall County come in with about 189 outages. Let me show you guys here real quick. Let me pull it up. So here's a look at Marshall coming in with about 189. DeSoto was where we saw 8,000 people currently without power. That was when this storm really ramped up. Tate at about 320. Union and Benton, fortunately not seeing any power outages, but these will build as we head further into the night because earlier we saw Marshall County come in with 0. Well, 20, 30 minutes later, 189. So just expect that number to climb even more into the rest of our night. We can pull up an MDOT camera showcasing what's happening. We're going to be looking out of Blue Springs, primarily north. And unfortunately, this isn't exactly the prime location to be looking at this storm because it should be, I can kind of show you guys with my clicker, going to be right here on the left side of your screen where we're seeing the highest lightning output, as that is the heart of the thunderstorm rolling through 22 right now into northern sections of, there you go, Union County. Shannon, I do think that'll be more on the south side of town. I see someone mentioning Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday's an entirely other day to worry about. Monday could even have severe potential as well. So yeah, just seeing a very electric storm rolling on through, multiple trees down, and no power on Wilson Ridge and Lake Cormorant. I might be saying that incorrectly, probably am. That is more on just west outside of our viewing area. So this is just showing you what it's capable of, and it's still at that same strength, maybe a few miles an hour less in regards to the wind impacts. But I will say what we're looking at right now, I'm not seeing anything of immediate concern when it comes to possible tornadic development. Still considerable damage associated with this. I am going to take a moment off screen to just navigate some things behind the scenes, but yeah, we'll walk back here closer to about midnight. I'll come back on and we'll talk more about it. But yeah, keep it here for the latest. We're continuing to track this behind the scenes, so not going anywhere. Just need to get some housekeeping things done. So. I guess I just can't get enough of you guys because I step away for one moment and things start to get a little bit more interesting. So let's look at the latest in regards to scans we're seeing across the area. North of New Albany right now is the primary area of concern, going to be closer to about the Concord area, Cotton Plant, just on the north side of Union County. It's going to be this interaction of the inflow and outflow. That's your rotation right there, and that's what we're tracking, especially when it lines up with that reflectivity. You want it, you don't want it, but if a tornado were to form, it would be in that whenever that moisture wraps around, that reflectivity wraps around, like what we're seeing here, showing that those winds are turning what's happening in the atmosphere and possibly trying to produce something. Still a few scans away, but definitely looking more organized than what it was even 2 scans ago. So just shows it only takes a couple of minutes for things to get a bit more interesting. So latest scans continue to show those strong wind gusts along the leading edge. Some of those coming in about 50, 60, even 65 miles an hour at times. So damaging in its own right. But that area of rotation is really going to be our primary area of concern. I'm trying to look between radar sites to kind of show that, and they're both showing an interaction of inflow and outflow winds, and that's just showing that there is something to keep an eye on. And it's going to be right there, as I was tracking, right along Pumpkin Center 381, moving in this east-northeast direction. So North Haven, go ahead and be a couple steps away from your safe place, just in case this were to produce. But we are still a couple scans away, fortunately, from that happening. Let's extend this track from that primary area of rotation. That is a tongue twister. New Albany 1156, so happening in the next couple of minutes, but really I expect it to stay just to the north of you guys. This is going to be one of our, what's happening here? This is going to be one of our longer tracks as that potential remains there. So we're talking North Haven 1156. We mentioned you guys there in a couple minutes. Ellistown 1208 here in the next 12, 13 minutes or so. Alpine 1209, Corona 1211, and then Bethany closer to 1213. If we keep that going all the way to Saltillo, we're talking 1220, so that's in the next 25 minutes. Enough for people to be waking folks up if they need to take action, as we are seeing that strong area of winds and possibility of it starting to rotate a bit more. Let's look at a few of those wind gusts, as I am seeing some of those brighter returns along that leading edge. This isn't exactly what's happening on the ground, but you're getting 50 to maybe even 60 at time mile an hour winds within this, causing sporadic damage on the back end. We've seen it over in DeSoto County with 8,000 people without power. Starting to see it again as we enter into more into Marshall County, Benton and Tippah County, Union County. Going to see a few more sporadic outage reports here in the coming minutes. This is issued through midnight, and they haven't talked about extending that just yet, but would not be surprised to see a new severe thunderstorm warning be issued well into the rest of Union, probably the rest of Tippah County, talking about the southern extent of Tippah County, and then on into Prentiss and northern Lee County for sure. Yeah, some of those winds just coming in, they are very, very gusty. Yeah, 60 mile an hour at times. So this is still pretty strong rolling through the northern Lee County area. Be sure it's on the latest scan. I want to say that they do still have that little notch down just north of New Albany, moving through North Haven right now. Not a tornado per se, but trying for sure. In regards to that rotation, you can see, I'm going to draw it out for you guys to kind of show you the interaction, but basically you have this inflow right here, and then the outflow. Let me draw a better arrow. There you go. Whenever you get this happening, you get this notch that we've been talking about where you get the reds and greens interacting. So that's what we're watching, and those arrows showing basically what we're looking for that rotation. We change that over to reflectivity, and it is right in that cusp of where you'd expect that to be for reflectivity. So both of those lining up, but the thing is, we're not seeing any debris, so not confirming anything, and it is still a ways away whenever we expect those wind returns. They're not as bright as what you typically expect with tornadic development, especially like what's happening in the Midwest. So I want to continue to just keep an eye on things. Destiny, Boonville heading to their safe place. Let's go ahead and just track out that time frame. I'm not going to say, especially the latest scan. Yeah, this is it went back to more of a bowing segment, meaning that it's jutting out. So we're not seeing that wrapping around, that RFD occurring. So you're not going to get that inflow as much. You're going to get this thunderstorm though that is going to be destructive in its own right. So I'm not saying safe place, but definitely be indoors. Don't be driving, which honestly shouldn't be driving at midnight at this point if you're just looking to get some sleep before the work week ahead. Hopefully this does taper out here in the next couple of minutes, but okay. They just said new warning coming out downstream of the current polygon, so this is going to expire at 12 and a new one is going to take its place, encompassing, like we said, Tippah, Union, on into Lee and Prentiss County as well. So just making sure this is continuing to be our only storm that we're watching. Yeah, Charles, it's going to be a hefty thunderstorm for sure in North Haven. You guys are right in the heart of it right now, and we should still have eyes with that Blue Springs camera looking north. Again, it is going to be several miles away, but you can get an idea of what we're seeing around that general area. So let's just take a look right here. Man, that is an energetic storm for sure. Still going to be primarily on the left side of your screen. That's kind of where you're seeing that high output of lightning because that's where the thunderstorm is located. But yes, so large severe thunderstorm warning just got issued, encompassing a large portion of our area, more counties actually. So they're covering this well in advance for folks in Itawamba County, Tishomingo County, basically all of the northeast extent of Mississippi needs to be watching this thunderstorm roll on through. Again, they have it moving in that southeast direction. So I know we had a few questions about Shannon and Nettleton, not that far southeast. So fortunately, you guys should stay void of this severe thunderstorm warning and the severe thunderstorm altogether. It's a fortunate thing. But if you are in Fulton, Saltillo, on the southern extent of this warning, need to be on standby for this thunderstorm to roll on through. What we're getting with this is going to be strong wind gusts and still getting those returns of about 60 miles an hour. They put a tag on this saying about 70 miles an hour. So that's the potential it has. I haven't seen reports of that at the surface just yet confirming it, but that's just how strong this is high up in the atmosphere. So again, 60 to possibly even 70 miles an hour high up, making its way down to the surface and doing damage in its own right. If you do have pictures or you do have power outages, let's go ahead and send those in so that way we have an idea. We can send that to the National Weather Service, let them know what's happening, and they can go ahead and send survey crews out tomorrow. And also send people to go help cut these trees down. I guess they're already down, but cut them up and get them cleared. So Angela, you asked why we can't watch this on live TV. Reason why is because it is a severe thunderstorm warning and not a tornado warning. We go live on TV for all tornado warnings, but whenever it comes to severe thunderstorm warnings, not going to go live and break television. We wanted to go live on here though, because we want to keep you guys informed, and you're doing exactly that by tuning in. So not Shannon area. I do expect it to be north of Shannon. So fortunately, not going to be impacting you guys. And this just continues to move east, southeast. Let's get a new storm track on it because it has been a minute since we've tracked those strongest wind gusts. And we're going to do it through the entire extent of that severe thunderstorm warning. You can see at the top of your screen, issued until 1:15. So this is going to be a long track warning, but that's not like Blue Mountain is not going to need to stay awake through 1:15. They'll be clear here shortly once here in the next probably 10-15 minutes once that clears fully. But looking at areas that need to be aware ahead. Guntown coming in 12:19, Pratt's 12:22, Boonville 12:24, New Site 12:33, and I want to move this south, more south just a little bit to talk to folks in Saltillo. We're seeing Saltillo come in about 12:21 if it were to move a little bit more south, but I do expect it to be, it might just go a little bit north. As of right now, what I'm expecting is a little bit north. We'll see how that verifies. Fulton 12:41, so we're here in the next 40 minutes or so. Still a ways away, and honestly, it may do exactly what it's going to do in Saltillo and might stay just north. It just depends on how this thunderstorm interacts with the boundary and how we see that build going forward. When we talk about that boundary, you can see it slightly right there. It just looks like this line of green. And that boundary feeds the energy into the heart of the storm and keeps it going. So that has been there since Memphis, since Arkansas, and continues to be there heading into North Mississippi. So this thunderstorm is not losing steam. Unfortunately, we are going to see that continue to be strong and possibly even destructive as it heads further into Union County. Keonville, I think I saw a question about Keonville. If you want to ask that again, and we can talk about that. But yeah, it is over Keonville right now. Do want to say some brighter returns close to County Road 240, County Road 157, that intersection right there, just north of Highway 30, and winds that you're getting within that probably about 60 miles an hour. Yeah, 61. So it's going to be breezy for sure, especially along the leading edge of this thunderstorm. And something that we've not talked about enough is going to be hailstone size. So still coming in at about an inch, but you saw earlier. I mean, we were getting some of those returns with the purples. That's about an inch to an inch and a half whenever it was in Benton County and even Marshall County as well. So hail size has tapered off just a bit. We can do pull a 3D model from this to kind of see if it is, there it is. Wind was about 50 to 60 and very heavy rain and power flickering. So unfortunately, that is going to be Keonville on the southern extent of this thunderstorm. So it just gives you an idea of what to expect. And I'm sure it's a very intense thunderstorm to experience. So go ahead and be indoors, be away from windows just in case. And hopefully this all just goes away. The thunderstorm with few rumbles of thunder, and or should I say many rumbles of thunder, but no damage. That's our hope. Just not expected whenever you see wind returns of that magnitude. So let me take it back, because I do want to say latest scans of wind not showing as strong of a return. This looks more to be 40 to 50 mile an hour. Yeah, 44, 45 mile an hour winds. So hopefully this means that it's fizzling out just a bit. Again, I want to take that 3D cross section of this thunderstorm just to see how that lifespan is going. If it's starting to decrease in height, then it shows some weakening within the thunderstorm, and that's going to show us kind of what to expect over the next couple of scans. So give it a second to populate the data, and we'll walk through that here shortly. Power's going in and out in Ripley, no surprise there, especially with the winds that you guys are getting. So earlier, this was coming in at about 35 to even 40,000 feet. As we've gone over time, into about midnight, and now midnight 05, at about 30,000 feet. So still strong, don't get me wrong, but we're not talking about 35,000 to 45 or to 40,000 feet. So that shows some possible weakening. It could strengthen over the next couple of scans if that outflow boundary interacts with it how we don't want it to, but how it could. Oh, I apologize. Love technology. But hopefully that means that this is starting to at least weaken just a little bit. We'll take what we can. So Boonville, I've seen many questions asking about Boonville. If we take this new storm track, especially along the leading edge of the highest output of reflectivity and the highest wind gust, we're going to see Boonville here shortly be impacted. We're talking about, well, it would hopefully populate. Boonville about 1225 here in the next 20 minutes or so. No safe place is needed right now, but if you have one readily available, go ahead and head there. Just to be on the safe side in case there was any trees or power lines that fall. But overall, a wind event and a destructive wind event as well. I'm going to take it through the entire warning. That includes folks over in Tishomingo. Let's just walk through times. Parks, 1211. Alpine, 1216. And that's going to encompass parts of Ellistown as well. I'm talking to my family over around that area. So, so definitely go ahead and be ready for some gusty winds to take place and possibility of even some small hail. Jumpertown, 1223. Guntown, 1227. Marietta, 1235. Bay Springs Lake, 1242. Burton, 1243. Dennis, 1248. Belmont, 1251. And Red Bay by about 1259. That's as it moves into Alabama. New Albany, it looks like it's staying north of you guys for the most part, and hopefully that continues to be the case. But still going to get some breezy conditions, 20, 30 miles an hour, as well as lots of lightning for sure. If it were to move more in a southern extent, and you can see a few more times listed in there, trying to see where some different towns would be that were populated. So you have Bethany, 1219, Centerville, 1240. We mentioned Belmont, 1253, and Kirkville, 1236 as well. Keep focusing on Boonville about 1230, because I've had several people ask about that. But this is just going to be a strong thunderstorm and destructive at times. We haven't checked in a minute. I want to check power outages here just to get an idea of what's been happening in Benton, Tippah, and Union County. Huh. Yep. So starting to get more outages reported in Marshall County. It was about 100 earlier. Now we're up to 1,300. So definitely an impactful thunderstorm if you needed any more evidence of that. And then if we look at some of those MDOT cameras looking north, I think it'd be worthwhile to get an idea. And Blue Springs should be looking right into the heart of this storm, especially because we have that MDOT camera looking directly north. So let's take that, and I'm going to look at a couple of your guys' questions. Yeah, Colby, we'll look at that cell behind it here in a moment. Hopefully what this is doing is it's eating up a good bit of energy in our atmosphere, and that cell behind it is not, whoo, there you go. That'll wake you up. But that cell behind it doesn't have that energy to tap into. Hoping that's the case, we'll take a look at it more in detail here in a minute. But yeah, thunderstorm starting to roll in. This is Blue Springs looking north, northern Union County. This is where that strong thunderstorm is rolling through. That severe thunderstorm with wind gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour. So trees down on a house in Hernando. Again, more evidence of that strong thunderstorm rolling through. This is the same one we're tracking right now and staring at on our MDOT camera. And I'm not seeing a lot of action. Don't get me wrong, but we are not in the heart of the storm. We're looking into the storm from an outer extent. So let's go ahead and go back to tracking this on radar. But yeah, if you needed any evidence that this was an action-packed storm, you can see it right there. Fortunate thing is interaction with winds does not show any tight couplet that would be of immediate concern for tornadic development. But strong wind gusts still, they're not as strong as what they were. And we were talking about that a moment ago with it not being as tall of storm tops, and that's where we don't get those strong wind gusts like what we were seeing. So 40, 50 mile an hour wind gusts expected, but fortunately not the 60 to 70 like what we were getting earlier. Hopefully that continues to be the case. Sounds like hail in Frankstown. Yeah, that small hail is still a part of this thunderstorm. And oh, it has increased in size over the last couple of scans. So hail cores increasing, winds decreasing just slightly. So hopefully both of those diminish, right? Power out in Dumas. So I see a few people asking, is that Frankstown or Faulkner? Sorry. I mean, let's just go ahead and look at the. Well, hang on, I say that. There's a decent hail core on this thunderstorm right over here. So Tishomingo County, you're already getting some action happening on top of what could move in later. And this is going to be some large hail development over Tishomingo, just between Tishomingo and Iuka on Highway 25. And so go ahead and hopefully be inside. Don't be driving through this. And if you do have any hailstone pictures, let us know, because this is, of course, a product that we have on our computer. Doesn't say directly what's falling to the ground. It says what's happening way up in the atmosphere. So letting us know that, but please do it in a safe way. So yes, this was issued as a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. It's different than a regular severe thunderstorm warning. Regular ones are about 60 miles an hour. This one was showing the potential to be 60 to even 70 miles an hour. Hail cores upwards of about an inch to an inch and a half in diameter falling. So that is, and there you go right there. That thunderstorm being issued into northwest Alabama. So they are taking that cell as it moves into Alabama and soon to be Tennessee. So Tishomingo County already seeing some action. Hopefully, that's all you guys see. Hopefully this dissipates out, right? But yes, so that's why it's a different severe thunderstorm warning. And you said Fulton. If Fulton is going to be on the southern extent of this thunderstorm, what we've seen is this remain in an east-southeast fashion in regards to the path that's traveling. So I'm not seeing anything of immediate note for Fulton. I think Fulton's very south, and it would take a significant change in storm movement for it to impact folks down there. So hopefully Fulton stays clear of this. Live in Ripley and power still on for now. Hopefully that's the case for everybody. If you do have any power outages, let's go ahead and take a look. Or sorry, let's go ahead and submit those and let us know. Tornado on the ground. Let me see. Kimberly, where exactly are you talking about? Because based off what I'm seeing, there's not anything showing that directly right now. We are getting some broad rotation in some spots, but not showing anything that is confirming a tornado as of this moment. So yeah, the next storm, that's what I wanted to take a look at. It's not as strong as what we're getting out in Tippah County right now, so I do want to keep focusing on that one. Not as much lightning output, and that's typically where we see those mature thunderstorms develop. More lightning is stronger the thunderstorm, and not seeing that with that one in Marshall County. So not of immediate note, probably going to affect folks on the northern side of Lafayette County, possibly even Oxford, depending on how far south this builds. And we can do a storm track on that here real quick as it moves kind of in that same general path. I'm just going to leave this up for one moment and show you guys what to expect. So Myrtle 1242, Bluff 1246, Dumas 1252, New Albany 101. This is going to be a possible next round, but not nearly as strong as what the first round was. This is going to be a few strikes of lightning and some wind gusts coming in about, what, 20 to 30 miles an hour as of this moment. Does have the potential to increase in strength depending on if it picks up a boundary that allows it to build. But yeah, as of right now, that's not the area of immediate concern. Continues to be the one out in Tippah County, right over the heart of Dumas right now. If you have no folks in Dumas, let them know that there is a strong thunderstorm right over the top. Sorry, just reading through comments, making sure that everyone is taken care of. No power in Buena Vista community in Ripley. So yeah, some areas in Ripley going to be without power. Others, according to some people in chat, are still with power. But that is a very lucky setup if you did escape this and still have power, just because of how strong those winds were, and as well as how much lightning there is. Damaging winds entering western Prentiss County. So they're pointing that out. And what they're talking about is what's entering into Jumpertown, Blackland, Frankstown, and soon to be Boonville. And you can see that right here with those brighter greens. That's about 40 to 50 miles an hour still being sustained and reaching the ground. It's not as strong as what it once was, but definitely still going to be destructive in its own right. So tracking that out as it moves in that eastern direction. I'm going to take this out just a bit and then take a moment. Adam, we don't want tornadoes. So hopefully they're not in Mississippi. And they stay away from Mississippi, right? So yeah, looking at it a few times there, Blackland 1218, Jumpertown 1219, Frankstown 1222, Boonville 1225, Thrasher 1228, and New Site by about 1237. Continues to be a very energetic storm. I want to look at lightning comparison over what we saw even about an hour ago. So let this update real quick. So yeah, about 516 outages, or not outages, what am I saying? 516 strikes happening within that storm. Earlier it was about 800, close to 900. So it is weakening just a bit. Believe it or not, it is weakening just a bit from what it was in Benton and Marshall County. I see some folks asking about Fulton. Fulton, I think, will be too far south for this thunderstorm, so hopefully it continues in this path. Hopefully it fizzles out altogether, but if it continues in this path, it is going to stay north of the city of Fulton. Northern Itawamba County is going to be seeing parts of this thunderstorm, so still going to be impacting parts of Itawamba County, but probably avoiding Fulton. I want to look at the hail core on these again. That one in Tishomingo County still coming in at about an inch to an inch and a half. That is definitely something. I'm curious if anyone has any reports of the hailstones that they're receiving up around Highway 25, but hopefully that's just happening high up in the sky and melting before it hits the ground. But based off of that return, would not be surprised to see an inch to an inch and a half hailstones reaching the ground. Just making sure this one back in Marshall County is not maturing. I would say that we've gotten up to about 30 to 40 miles an hour when it comes to wind gusts. Yeah, 35, so no surprise there. That is strengthening just slightly. Still a ways away from being what its leading cell reached to, but um, it's entering a very used environment. The other storm coming towards Boonville, I assume that you're talking about the one we just talked about in Marshall County. That is not as strong as what you guys are experiencing right now. Take cover now in Iuka. There is broad rotation, but still a ways away from producing anything tornadic. So you don't need to necessarily take shelter. Just be inside as these thunderstorms roll on through. You don't want to be outside, especially when you're getting hail returns like what we're seeing. Um, and that was enough to prompt that severe thunderstorm warning in northwest Alabama. So latest returns, we are getting new scans in. Looking at that wind interaction continues to be broad, and we are seeing that around County Road 957 and County Road 201, moving closer to Oldham and on the east side of Iuka. We can track that out for you guys just to give an idea of where that tightest rotation is. But I mean, we're still. So yeah, there's a look at a few times within that severe thunderstorm. I want to go back to the storm though that we've been tracking over the last, what is it now, hour? And we want to take a look at the extended track on this. I see several folks asking about Kossuth, and I want to go ahead and do a track for you guys as you guys have been patiently waiting. This is just a large thunderstorm impacting a lot of people. So we want to give the direct path the most heads up. And I think the latest scan just came in. Let me move this just slightly. So there we go, encompassing a large portion of Prentiss and Tishomingo County, Baldwin 1222, Boonville 1224, Thrasher 1227, Rienzi 1230, Marietta 1234. I think I saw someone ask about Marietta a second ago. And Tishomingo, we mentioned you guys 1248, Dennis 1249, Malone 1256, and then pushing more into northwest Alabama. If this does happen to go more to the north, we'll encompass all areas to give everyone a heads up. So bear with me one moment while I draw these out. Few new times listed in there. Thrasher 1226, Leedy 1242, Payton 1249. This is if it moves north, and I really don't see it moving north. And I see that talking about Kossuth, I know that we've had several folks asking about that general area. What we're seeing, I mean, you guys will be getting a thunderstorm, don't get me wrong, but that leading edge of the strongest wind gust is going to be further to the south. So hopefully this continues to be the case, and I expect it to be so, that the strongest will stay just to the south of you guys. Thunderstorm, it will happen. But in regards to a severe thunderstorm, I think that you guys stay below that threshold. I want to look because this latest scan looks a bit more interesting when it comes to rotation. We are getting that interaction of winds. We talked about inflow, outflow. We broke it down a second ago. And seeing that interaction on west of Frankstown, moving closer, just making sure that they're not talking about anything. They're just seeing this as a damaging wind signature, but I will say there's more interaction when it comes to the returns for possible rotation, or at least trying to produce. We are still a ways away, but at least broad rotation interacting along Highway 30 on the west side of Frankstown. We go ahead and track that out, and I'll do a speed check on this here in a moment to make sure that we still have the right speed on this. But you can see Frankstown 1224, Wheeler close to 1225. That's that area of broad rotation. And I want to do one that kind of encompasses some specific areas around those general whereabouts. So Mount Olive Church closer to about 1222. Bear with me one second. Mount Olive Church 1222, Frankstown 1225, Wheeler 1228, Wheeler School 1228, and Hodges Church going to be about 1230. So this is going to be a thunderstorm, and honestly, if you look right there, the rotation broadened out just a bit more. So shows you how long these things last. Storm coming towards Ripley. Let's take a look at that. They're talking about that next one, that next round. We can look at wind returns on this. I'm not seeing anything of significant note right now, and that is a good thing. I do say that, and you see some areas where it's like, is that broad rotation? Talking about right there, just north of College Hill, close to Abbeville. That is what we call just some dead space. So we get those returns of the interaction of winds. It's not actually rotation. It is far out from the storm, so it's not anything of immediate concern. It might look menacing, but it's actually nothing at all that we need to be concerned with. Now, if it was within the thunderstorm, different story, but that's not the case. Continue to monitor back here along the main thunderstorm. We're getting some brighter returns at times. Still talking about that, the damaging wind returns. This one out here in Tishomingo County still has a decent hail core to it. Has weakened just a bit. So folks in Tishomingo County, if you live on the east side of Iuka, hopefully that hail core continues to diminish. We don't want any damage to cars or anything like that, but still decent, still about an inch in diameter for sure can be expected. That's why that severe thunderstorm warning is attached there. I see some people asking about, okay, Thunder and Boonville is nuts, for sure. Yeah, it's just going to be an active night as this thunderstorm works on through, an electric night, some might say, with the amount of lightning we're receiving. So I'm going to do a storm track on this for the next couple of minutes, go handle some things behind the scenes, and make sure that you guys just have what you need to know for anyone out ahead of this severe thunderstorm. Moving about that eastward direction, you can see some towns listed in there. Go ahead, and if you are in any of those towns, be paying attention through the rest of the night. We're talking about Thrasher 1227, Pratt's 1230, Marietta 1236, Burton 1239, Payton 1244, and on to Tishomingo by about 1247. I'm gonna head off for 1 second to go handle some things behind the scenes, but keep it here for the latest. Trust me, we're continuing to track this even behind the scenes. Okay, coming back on to say that a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for northern Alcorn County and the rest of Tishomingo County. Yes, I was talking about you guys in Kasu. I still think that this is below severe limits, but it's just showing it's covering what they believe to be the rest of the strong thunderstorm. So that's why we have that issued to be on the safe side and to let people know to just be watching this, and you guys already are. So perfect. You guys are doing your job. But yeah, thunderstorm continuing to move into parts of Alcorn County. We can track this out. Let's just go ahead and track the entire northern extent of this line because they do have it moving more in a east northeast fashion. So that is a different direction. Of course, it moves as soon as I draw this out. So right there. So Kossuth, we were talking about you guys. That's here in the next probably 5 minutes or so. Arienzi 12:30, Jacinto 12:36, Glen 12:43, Corinth 12:45, Iuka 12:54, Cherokee 1:06, Waterloo 1:09, and then on into Sheffield and Florence by about 1:24 to 1:30. So a busy night for a lot of folks northwest Alabama. Definitely going to be seeing these thunderstorms roll on through. But as of right now, I'm not seeing anything of an immediate tornadic threat. It has tried a couple times, don't get me wrong. We had a tornado warning over just south of Memphis and a lot of damage reported within that. I don't believe there's anything confirmed. It looked like a strong wind event for sure, don't get me wrong. But this is really all it's been is a strong wind event all the way through these warnings. So just continue to look at the storm. It is continuing to trend north, as we talked about. Saltillo, hey, we lucked out. It stayed north of us. And then we talked about Fulton, stayed north. So that's kind of what we expected, and it followed suit. We love when that happens, right? Does this mean it won't come to Guntown? Guntown is going to be right on the fringes. I think it stays north. We could see a few rumbles of thunder, but I don't expect this to be um, of the severe magnitude that they're seeing, even just a few miles up 145 up in Baldwin, especially like Frankstown and Boonville. Over the top of Boonville right now, definitely getting some gusty winds coming in at about 20 to 30 to even 40 miles an hour in some places. But again, not as strong of returns. And so fortunately, that's been the good thing with this forecast is those winds are starting to die out a bit more. Taking an expanded look, I want to take another 3D cross section of this to see how it has trended even over the last 20 minutes or so. Was that the last time we did this? I think so. So, seeing it come in at about 25 to possibly 30,000 feet, but has diminished in strength. Let's let it populate just a bit and we'll kind of walk through for folks that are just now joining us. So earlier we were getting it up at about 30 to even 40,000 feet at times. That was really where it peaked in intensity, and it stayed there for a good bit, all the way through Marshall, Benton, and Tippah County. Once it got more into Prentiss County, it peaked there and then started to dissipate out just ever so slightly. And so those returns not coming in at with as tall of storm tops, showing some slight weakening within that cell, and hopefully that continues to be the case. Because as you can see, it's just a very active night for far north Mississippi. I see a lot of folks asking about and calling it round two. Say we're far from round two right now, but more lightning is being output by this storm happening just on the north side of Lafayette County. One thing that is of note, and it might have gone away on that scan right there. Let me pull it up. So earlier that wind interaction, even right there, that scan, right there in the Bethlehem community has since got more broad, and of course, getting it with just those winds. It's really what we expect within this. Heading to Corinth sounds just like winds. Yeah, it's just going to be a gusty night. Hit hard in Rienzi, sorry. Getting rough in Kossuth. Yes, I mean, it's going to be a thunderstorm, no doubt, especially on the hefty side. But when we talk about that severe potential, I would say the wind gusts are not what they were. So we're still getting 20 to 30 miles an hour at times, but I do foresee a lot of this just being covering the entire northern extent of this thunderstorm that was once on the stronger side. Still strong, but not as strong as what it once was. Hopefully continuing to diminish in strength because I know that you, like me, are ready to get some sleep, right? See folks in Union County asking if they can go to sleep. Let me say this for everybody. If you are looking to get some sleep, there is an easy way to get alerts, and that's Weather Call. That's WTVA weather app. Just different ways to get those alerts. And turn on the ringer, and it'll give you a call whenever that storm is rolling on through, or whenever a severe thunderstorm warning, tornado warning is issued, and you need to act swiftly. So it'll give you a heads up, and it'll wake you up. Trust me. And so that's the best way to do it, because we are going to get some of those thunderstorms moving in behind this system, and our meteorologist Chelsea Simmons will be tracking this well into the morning. But this continues to be the primary one. People keep asking about this cell out there towards Holly Springs. It has a potential, but it doesn't have a boundary that it's following that's allowing it to build like this one did. So that's why I'm not too overly concerned with this cell. Could change here in the next 20 minutes or so, but I'm not concerned about that right now. I would say folks north or south of Highway 6, if you're tuning in, you're good to go to bed. A lot of this staying along the Tennessee state line. For folks that live along the Tennessee state line, Marshall, Benton, Tippah, Alcorn, Tishomingo, even Prentiss, even right now Lee County, and even Union County, I'll say just keep it with us. We're continuing to just provide you the information that you need. And if you're able to wake up quickly and you have weather call, go to sleep. And that's for Union County and Tippah County. But the potential is still there for these thunderstorms to increase in strength if it were to interact with the right boundary and increase quickly. I want to keep looking at the latest on these. So it is still interacting with a slight boundary, and that's what's allowing it to still have some anywhere from 20 to 30 mile an hour wind gust, but I'm not seeing anything right now that is up to the severe standards. This is issued until 1:15, and it is still a strong thunderstorm, don't get me wrong, but comparatively speaking, not like what it once was. Boonville, you are getting a lot of rain and a lot of lightning and even some small hail over the top of you guys right now. Just let this pass, stay indoors. If you need to get out and about, honestly, you don't need to get out and about at 12:30, right? Yeah, it's going to be a booming night for a lot of folks with this lightning. Tupelo, did you guys ask about Tupelo? You did. Kayla asked about Tupelo. Staying north of Tupelo. Tupelo, you are good to go to sleep, as this is looking to stay north of you guys. Brooklyn asking about Corinth. We can break that down for you guys and give you a exact timing. This one, it looks to be moving a bit more east-northeast rather than directly east. So let me track that northern extent through Corinth. And you can see those times listed right there. Corinth, 12:47, so 10 minutes or so. And folks in Kossuth can tell you it's going to be a booming system rolling on through. Lots of lightning, lots of heavy rainfall, but winds not like what they were, not going to be upwards of 60 to 70 miles an hour, more than likely going to be 20, 30, with a few gusts getting up to 40, I would say. If this were to remain at the same strength, then I expect it to. There's not an outflow boundary that it's following like what it once was that made it reach peak wind speeds of about 60 to 70 miles an hour. Let's continue to track power outages. I want to take a look back here, so bear with me while I look on the next monitor and update this feed. Okay, perfect. Well, found what we're talking about now. Lots of power outages across the region. So let me pull this up here for you guys, and we'll walk through it and break it down. So bear with me. DeSoto, we talked about having 8,000 outages, still around that same mark, but Marshall coming in with 1,300. Benton, 243 now. So I know that folks were talking about being impacted by those storms. Well, there's your example right there. And then Ripley was getting a few of those outages, 452 in Tippah County as we speak. Probably going to get more out of Prentiss and Alcorn here in the next couple of minutes, as Kossuth was saying power was flickering. So would not be surprised there. In Union coming in with about 57. That's going to be on the northern side of this storm, or northern side of the county where these storms were moving on through. So expect more outages to occur, Prentiss, Alcorn, and even Tishomingo County on top of the 178 that we see already. So active night, right, guys? It's what, night 3? Coming down in Boonville, no doubt about that. Just lost power in Kossuth, so about to get those power outages updated for Alcorn County. Right over the top of you guys. Definitely going to be lots of lightning, and lightning probably the reason why that power is going out, because of how much is happening. Let's look at how many strikes have happened within this cell over the last 10 minutes or so. So coming in around 500 strikes. So that's all you need to know if this is a mature thunderstorm. Amory should stay north of Monroe County. So yeah, well north of Monroe County. You guys can go to sleep. No immediate concern for you guys. Pontotoc, I would say the same thing, and I agree with that statement. And yeah, you guys are good to go to sleep. Power flashed in Boonville. Yeah, it's going to be that lightning. If it reaches the ground, it's going to strike some power lines for sure. They are acknowledging that there is not intensification with the trailing storm. So those that were saying round two, doesn't look like there's going to be a round two. It looks like it's just going to be a thunderstorm rolling on through for a lot of folks that already received a thunderstorm. So hopefully that continues to be the case and continues to either remain or possibly even weaken as it moves over the next couple of scans. I do want to look at the latest when it comes to wind gusts around that Alcorn County area, Kossuth, right over the top of you guys as we speak. You guys are in the heart of the storm. Corinth, moments away from reaching you, just riding 72 and riding 45. That intersection going to be impacted here in the next minute or so. That's going to be receiving some strong wind gusts coming in at about, I would say, max 20, 30 miles an hour wind gusts. The wind is no joke here at Hills Chapel. I agree completely. Yeah, it's going to be breezy for sure, especially with what's reaching the ground. But the lightning strikes with that. Kossuth, it wasn't a high lightning output earlier, but you can see with how many strikes have happened right around the city, right along Highway 2. Yeah, probably one of those strikes reached the ground, and that's why there's a large batch of outages for folks there. So Corinth, you're getting that same lightning, so might even have a few outages reported in Corinth as well. Farmington, same thing with you. Glenn, moments away from reaching where you're at on the east side of the county before it moves into Tishomingo County. So this morning that we see on the south side of town issued until 1:15. I expect them to just continue, especially with how much lightning they're still receiving with that. But I want to look at this one on the north side, still issued through 1:15 as well. So they went both 1:15 with this. Okay. Tippah and Union counties being cleared from the warnings. And without the intensification of this cell back behind it, I would say that Union and Tippah County are good to go to sleep. So let this roll on through. Not seeing immediate concern for you guys within this. Now, granted, you will hear a rumble of thunder or two, but don't let that alarm you. This will be just another thunderstorm. Not severe, but another thunderstorm. So there they go. They just trimmed it off, Tippah and Union County. So I know a lot of us don't have power, especially up in Tippah County. You're good to head to sleep. Hopefully you have some form of an alarm clock to wake up for work tomorrow. And if you don't have work, if you're like my wife and on summer vacation, then you don't need an alarm clock at all. You can just sleep in. How long for Boonville? You guys you're basically in the heart of the storm right now, have been for a minute. And let me see. Yeah, I mean, it's just continue to remain over the top of you, but hopefully in the next about 10, 15 minutes, that will clear on out. I see someone worried about their car. Aside from breezy conditions that might knock a tree down, and just don't park it near trees at that point. But hailstones are going to be on the smaller side, pea to dime size, and that's not going to do too much, if any, damage to your vehicle. So don't be too worried about your car. Yes, so New Albany just got cleared from the severe thunderstorm warning. I see folks asking about that. You guys are good to go to sleep. This is going to be a strong, not strong thunderstorm. It's going to be a thunderstorm that's rolling into New Albany. So don't be surprised to hear a few rumbles of thunder, but this is far below what that other cell was when it rolled on through. Saltillo and Guntown. Stay north. That's how it'll be. May see another thunderstorm roll in later this morning. Is that what we're talking about now? So, but that's not going to be anything severe. Lightning bad in Corinth and wind is bad. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about folks in Kossuth basically told us what to expect up around Corinth. And when that lightning strikes in an unfortunate location, that's where power goes out. And basically all along 72 right now, getting the strong wind gust and the lightning output increasing. So Corinth getting it right now. Hopefully you're not out and about. Hopefully you're in your home, letting this pass on through. Hopefully no power goes out. I'm moving from Mississippi. Listen, it's active all across the United States right now. I mean, if we want to look big picture, well, it has calmed down just a bit, but earlier, Kansas and Nebraska, a very active system, and multiple tornadoes were reported within that. So I want to zoom in on this one more time just to continue to assess this. I'm not seeing anything right now that is of the utmost concern other than some possible power outages expected within this. Just trying to see if you guys have any reports. The fortunate thing with what has happened, and I'm going to check this here real quick, so bear with me behind the scenes. But I'm not seeing any reports of damage in our designated viewing area. Now, over in DeSoto County, a whole different story, but for right now, okay, yeah. Not getting any damage reports for these cells. And the main thing we're going to get with this is power outages across the region. Let me refresh it here real quick because it has been about 10 minutes, and 10 minutes can make a difference in regards to hundreds of people being without power. So Alcorn County still hasn't updated just yet, but TIPA coming in with 1,900 outages. A large portion of that being in Ripley, Benton 243, 1,300 in Marshall, and 7,000 still in DeSoto County. Union County coming in with 106 outages, probably on the north side of town. And I can look at that here real quick, so bear with me. Yeah, so it's going to be on the north side of town where those storms rolled on through. So more outages to be reported as folks in Alcorn County have told us. Outages in Kossuth, power out near Corinth, hailing in Farmington now. So that's going to be, let's see, hailing in Farmington. Let me see this hail core right here. Yeah, some small hail. If you have eyes on it and can get eyes on it within a safe distance, and let us know in the chat how big that was. That would kind of give us an idea. Guntown can go to sleep. Belmont. Let's see, but I believe Belmont. Let's see. Just looking at the entire extent. Yeah, we narrowly avoided it here at the station, so I haven't heard any rumbles of thunder. Yeah, we'll keep you updated on Alcorn County because Alcorn County is kind of the area of utmost concern along with Prentiss and Tishomingo County, wherever these winds are the strongest. That's kind of what we're tracking across the region. So we can do a large extent storm track right here, encompassing basically this entire thunderstorm. And we're not going to go far. We're just going to go into Tishomingo County. So Burton 1249, Burnsville 1252. I saw some people asking about Burnsville. Belmont 1258. Others asking about Belmont. There you go, about 10 minutes. Iuka 1 o'clock. Malone 106. Red Bay 109. And then on into Northwest Alabama beyond that point. Tishomingo, I didn't mention you, but about 1256 for you guys. Looking back up to the north. Moving through Corinth as we speak. North of 72 right now, basically just riding along Highway 2, right? Up into Acton, Tennessee. So this is where we expect that to be. And I'm going to have to move this just slightly. Bear with me while I pick up this. Move it to Kendrick. Acton, 1253. We mentioned up in around Tennessee. And then Kendrick, 1253 for a focus location along the Tennessee state line. Down south, Bay Springs Lake about to get a little bit dicey as this thunderstorm rolls on through. No power. Tammy, where is that power report coming out of? A loud and a light show. Yeah, that's a way to put it for sure. Hail and wind east of Iuka. Tammy, if you have, oh, that's probably where you're saying no power then. If you guys see any hail or hear any hail and can see it in a safe manner, yeah, just let me know the size and we can forward that to the National Weather Service to give them an idea. But I wouldn't be surprised to see anywhere from pea to dime-sized hail within this. Sounds ugly by the arena in Corinth. Yeah, I mean it's moving through the heart of Corinth right now. Uh, Moving back up around that area. Wind gusts, fortunately, I think we could have been much worse. Out west definitely was much worse, so we kind of avoided that extent. But yeah, some areas getting upwards of around 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts can be damaging in its own right. Can knock down a couple of power lines, especially with how saturated that ground is. Power just went out in Farmington. Again, Elkhorn County just basically sweeping away the power as these storms roll on through. Wade, is Tuesday going to be worse? It has the potential to be our highest output of severe weather. And what I mean with that is it's all mathematic reasoning in regards to what we see risk wise. And our day 3 risk for Tuesday, I know it says Wednesday at the top, it's just a technical error. That day 3 risk for Tuesday is that level 3 risk, and that's going to be our best chance to see severe weather happening. And so that's why we're really pushing Tuesday to be weather aware, be even more weather aware than what we have been, as we could see strong winds, large hail, and possibly uh, a tornado threat with that system as well. We'll, of course, be tracking that all week long. So say it all the time. Keep it here for the latest. Prentice County have another round tonight. I'm about to go look at model runs, but off the top of my head and off of what I've seen all afternoon, I would say no. I would say this is kind of what we were tracking for late night threat. And now that it's rolling on through, hopefully this is all we get. Hopefully this is where it remains, and I expect it to be that case. So give me 1 second. I'm going to take a step off screen to look at a bit of the analysis and see if that continues to be the case. Give me 1 second. Okay. Just coming back in to assess what I've been seeing and not expecting anything more to develop. And then we do have this thunderstorm that's developing out across Union County. And I know I told folks in New Albany, hey, head to bed. I do believe that's still the case just because a lot of this is still far from anything severe. Very little lightning output within this. Let's go ahead and just zoom in. And we're seeing about 17 strikes over the last 10 minutes. So not anything too significant. So New Albany going to be experiencing another thunderstorm, but don't be alarmed. Far from severe. The storm that we continue to track up around Tishomingo, we are getting some stronger wind returns, I will say, from what even it was a few minutes ago. But let's just compare this to what we saw earlier. So bear with me. Yeah, so we're getting those duller greens and reds just what 12:52, so 10 minutes ago. And now we're starting to get some of those brighter reds and greens. And what that means is we're seeing an uptick in those wind gusts. How they're translating to the ground is, of course, something uh, we can tell whenever we look at some of our stations up around Tishomingo County and, of course, storm reports that we're getting through the National Weather Service. If you have any, please send that into weather@wtva.com. We love letting the National Weather Service know what's happening as these warnings are issued out. And yeah, I'm looking at a few of those reports that you guys have. So this continues to just be a strong thunderstorm with damaging winds and the potential for some small hail as well. We've seen a large output of lightning, and that's why folks up around Corinth and Kossuth and now Farmington and who was the latest? Jacinto are starting to see more outages. So this is just continuing to lift well into Tennessee. Going to be impacting folks up there. Say your prayers for them. But power outages continue to be the primary concern down here in Northeast Mississippi, especially looking towards Iuka, north of there, up towards let's see, Crossroads community. Just making sure, yeah. I mean, it's just going to be a breezy, breezy night ahead of these cells. Bay Springs Lake, it is getting breezy right over the top of you guys. Much more breezy than what it was even 10 minutes ago, like we were saying. Let this populate in here real quick. So yeah, 43, 42 miles an hour when it comes to those wind gusts, probably translating to the surface about 40 miles an hour as well. I was looking at MDOT cameras over in Fulton, looking north. Let me see if that's still pulled up. Yeah, so we can pull this up here real quick. You know, it might be frozen. Let me make sure. We are for sure frozen. Let's see. See if we can still get a visual on this. Well, it's just glitchy. So, yeah, there's some lightning off in the distance. Whenever those, good morning. Whenever those strikes happen, sometimes the camera's just not HD. But Baldwin, good to go to sleep. Yes, it is past you. Boonville, same thing with you. It is past you. Corinth, I know that a lot of you guys don't have power. It is good to go to sleep. Glenn does not have power. No surprise there as the storm rolled on through. Glenn is able to go to sleep now as a lot of this has remained up towards the off towards the east, so not going to be of immediate concern. So, like we are mentioning, I know you guys have been asking for it, so I'm about to give you one. Bear with me while I become an artist. All right, we'll stay hyper focused on that. And bear with me. There you go. That's what you guys been wanting, right? Boom. There it is. Yeah, Kossuth passed you guys, passed a good portion of Alcorn County except for the far east side. That'll continue to roll on out and move into Tishomingo County. So really it's Tishomingo County and northwest sections of Alabama. That's going to be the primary areas that we need to pay attention to for the next about 10 to 15 minutes. But yeah, for the rest of us, good to go to sleep. Other storm is still headed in that same general direction. Don't get me wrong, you will hear rumbles of thunder, but in regards to severe impacts, gusty winds, lots of lightning, heavy rainfall, large hail, not going to see that within this cell. Might see some gusty winds come in at about 10, 20, maybe even 30 miles an hour within that cell, but far from reaching anything severe, and it's reaching an environment that has been eaten up when it comes to energy. So yeah, I know a lot of you guys were waiting on that. So just wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be anything that spurred up within that cell, and pretty confident in that right now. Expires the severe thunderstorm warning. Let me make sure. So both of those are set to expire around 1:15. Iuka still, I mean, if you're in Tishomingo County, just let this kind of pass on through. Hopefully, we don't get any reports of any damage, but I really don't expect it to be. It is some gusty winds coming in about 40 miles an hour. Ripley, you are good to go to sleep. And again, you guys might hear a few rumbles of thunder, but overall, I think we're past the worst of this for now. Still an active pattern going forward, so please stay weather aware throughout Monday. Please stay weather aware throughout Tuesday, especially Tuesday, um, as we do have the possibility of more strong storms rolling through. Hayden area, just give it about 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes as this storm clears on out, because it is still an action-packed thunderstorm, and just let that move on out of the area. Rienzi, oh, I keep saying that. Forgive me, it's late and it's been a long day. You guys are good to go to sleep. Pontotoc, you are good to go to sleep. New Albany, good to go to sleep. Basically, if you are in the go to sleep area, you are good to go to sleep. Corinth, good to go to sleep. Elijah, thankfully we did not lose power here. But I know other folks were not as fortunate. So fortunately, power crews are going to be out early. They're already out right now, trying to get that power back up and running. So if you are without power, call your local power companies. Let them know that there is an outage that occurred, and they will hopefully take care of you guys very soon. So rain going to stop in Corinth. More than likely, it's going to be off and on through the entire night. In regards to thunder associated with it, probably just going to be this cell back behind it with a few rumbles here and there. But beyond that, just going to see those showers rolling through. Our meteorologist Chelsea Simmons, she just texted me that she is about to be on the way, and she'll take over. And of course, we'll be monitoring this behind the scenes. I'll be monitoring it behind the scenes. I'm sure Matt's still up monitoring it behind the scenes. Matt, if you are, please go to sleep because he's been up all day long as well. Um, but yeah, it's going to be a very active week. We need to make sure. Well, Dawson, I kind of did the opposite. I drew a circle around the places that don't need to go to sleep. Everywhere else can go to sleep. So if you are in this far northeast corner of Mississippi that we call Tishomingo County, stay awake. Everyone else, go to sleep. All good. I just want to make sure you guys know that it is safe to go to sleep. Iuka, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, this is still a strong thunderstorm rolling through Tishomingo County. You're seeing the lightning output in just that small general area. It's still a strong thunderstorm, but wind gusts are not up to that severe potential we saw earlier. 20, 30, 40 miles an hour in a saturated environment could uproot some trees, but um, Cody, I'm going to need you to explain the second round, because what we're seeing as a second round is just going to be an isolated thunderstorm that's not going to be close to severe as of what we're seeing right now. Yeah, Kelly, it's just the jinx, right? Okay, I'm gonna clear this off. Hopefully you guys got a good idea. Tuesday, what we're seeing on models, we're starting to get short range models coming out, and it definitely shows an increased threat for severe weather. So that's definitely a day we need to keep an eye on. We'll know more tomorrow. Meteorologist Chelsea Simmons tracking it tomorrow morning, or should I say this morning, in about 4 hours, 3 hours. Time flies when you're having fun, right? And of course, Chief Meteorologist Matt Laupon and John DeLucia will be tracking it throughout the afternoon and evening, giving a general idea of what to expect. But what I have seen is an afternoon, evening threat. All forms of severe weather will be possible, so it's important we have ways of receiving alerts. If you haven't done so, go ahead and get Weather Call. Go ahead and get the WTVA weather app. Different ways to receive those alerts and stay as prepared as possible. So the other storm was severe for us in most of. Where exactly are you talking about? Because I don't think this has had. It's late. Don't get me wrong. I could have overlooked it, but I really have not seen this have a severe thunderstorm tag to it. So that's because if we're talking about this one right here, it has not had a severe thunderstorm tag on it. But yeah, a few rumbles of thunder with it. But I'm not seeing anything, and we can even look at the latest on it. And again, not anything impressive in regards to wind returns or anything of that nature, especially not when you compare it to the one out ahead of it. This one just surging out ahead and taking all of the moisture. And I've seen folks mention Dennis and Belmont. Yeah, I mean, you're getting wind gusts well into the 50-mile-an-hour range, possibly even into low 60s. But yes, I was talking about for Tuesday, Julie. Julie. There we go. I can read. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. Yes, so Dennis is very active. Hopefully this clears out here soon. It's kind of just the heart of it right now. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this hail core is starting to increase yet again. So northwest sections of Alabama going to be seeing this roll on through. So Bloody Springs well into Pleasant Site, still probably getting about a dime size hail falling. Yeah, Dennis, strongest wind gusts happening right now on the back side. I want the latest scan on that. Belmont, I forgot who asked about Belmont, but yeah, it's just gonna be some breezy conditions. Yeah, Cody, the one coming up behind it, I really don't expect that to be anything severe. It's just riding a very used up environment, so I'm not going to see anything increase too much. Dennis is bad. Yeah, Dennis is breezy. I wish I could. Believe it or not, we cannot control the weather. I know some folks are confused by that, but we cannot. If that were the case, then it would be sunny skies and 60 to 70 degrees every single day, right? Kossuth can expect a few rumbles of thunder, uh, some heavy rainfall, but not anything severe. And I feel more confident as each scan comes in, just that is going to happen because I mean, you look at the lightning output. Let me just zoom in on that primary area. Coming in with about 26 over the last 10 minutes. A little bit more of an uptick on the lightning being produced, but still far from severe limits. There's a warning. Corinth, you can indeed go to sleep. Okay, so the garbage can. Letting you guys know, about a month ago. Is it a month? Yeah. Again, time flies. About a month ago, we had a storm roll through, and it was going right towards our house. And we pulled up a camera, and it happened to be in my front yard, and our garbage can blew away, in summary. And that's why it's always a joke like, hey, Gabe, what's going to happen with your garbage can? I call it the garbage can forecast. Is it going to blow away or is it going to stay still? And that's kind of a good telltale sign of what to expect. So today did not blow away, but last night, was it last night? 2 nights ago. it did blow away. So the garbage can forecast was pretty significant Friday night. Iuka should be working its way out of the area here shortly. So feel confident in saying that. And same thing with Burnsville. I see people asking about Burnsville too. Should be clearing out for both of you guys here in the next 5 minutes or so. No longer a severe thunderstorm attached to this, except for moving into northwest Alabama. So Russellville going to be moving closer to you along Highway 24, Dempsey, you two, as it stays north of Red Bay and continues to move in that eastern direction. Do a storm track on that, but I'm not seeing anything that is overly significant right now. Winds did get an uptick as it entered into the Alabama state line. That's going to be more on the within the rainfall. So shoes on, shoes off forecast. You know, it's always a shoes on forecast for me. I don't know. I don't get the shoes off forecast too often. William, as long as people stay safe, that's all. That's all I care about. I appreciate that though. Pontotoc is indeed clear. No, it's honestly a fun adventure when the garbage can falls over, just running out in the middle of the rain to go fix it, so that way it doesn't go hit a car. Um, you know what I should do is just bring it back to the house, right? That'd be the easy way to do it. Shoes only. Shoes only come off when there's a wasp. That is exactly right. We take care of wasp around here. We did get some wasp spray, so we can, if the shoes don't do it, gets too high, we'll wasp spray it down. So looking at the timings for this, Dempsey 122, Russellville 136, Littleville 142, and on into the rest of northwest Alabama out of our viewing area. So not going to cover that beyond that point, but definitely our thoughts and prayers go to those that are about to be impacted by this next storm. I know my family over in Ellistown heard a few rumbles of thunder, seeing some broad rotation, but again, far from reaching anything significant as of right now. Lightning production on this storm continues to be about 10 to 20 to sometimes 30. But I'm still not seeing anything that needs to be of note. Rumbles of thunder for sure. Still tracking that near Alpine. We'll keep an eye on it, but I think that it's not as far from doing anything too crazy. And it's just not entering the primed environment for it. Few people saying that it was about 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts there in Tishomingo County. No surprise there, especially down in Tishomingo and Denison, Belmont. Decorative butterflies took flight. Yeah, probably in those wind gusts in New Albany, it was definitely significant. Still just keeping an eye on this Alpine storm. Still a ways away from being anything significant. It's just not an unstable enough environment for this to have an uptick. Tuesday storm's going to be, I would say overnight. Like right now, they'd probably be clear whenever we're talking about Tuesday to Wednesday. But whenever we talk about the threat, it'll probably be, for right now, our timing, afternoon to after dark. Picking up again in Rienzi. Yeah, it's just these isolated thunderstorms out behind that main one. Definitely still packing a punch, but we're not talking about severe punch. It's just going to be some wind gusts coming in 10 to 20 miles an hour, and then uh, some heavy rainfall at times. Pontotoc, you guys can go to sleep. I have to make another go to sleep graphic. I think new people are joining. course. Of course. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put them down in the chat. Rather you guys go to bed with peace of mind rather than questioning whenever you wake up. Tell you what, that one in Belmont definitely get some gusty winds. I'm just going to populate this a little bit to see for my own curiosity. So still around Belmont, around 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Okay. Disregard all those numbers. Wonder if the hail core has increased on this. Yeah, I mean, it's broadened out a little bit. Unfortunately, I think a lot of areas are going to be out of power tonight and possibly even into the early hours of uh, tomorrow morning. So go to sleep. If you have a battery powered fan, turn that on. And yeah, hopefully that gets restored quickly. We'll go through power outage here in a second. But for all of you guys going to sleep, I hope you have a great night. And of course, stay weather aware for the next couple of days, and we'll keep you updated here. Of course, always tracking this 24/7. There's going to be more thunderstorms, but severe thunderstorms I think that we are so far from. This one over close to Alpine on the east side of Union County, moving into Prentiss and Lee County. Definitely keeping an eye on that, but we are far from producing anything. Winds aren't crazy. Yeah. So, and they're even talking about, it looks more than what it is. So, not too worried about that one in Union County. Second one continues to remain about the same, I would say. It hasn't really fallen apart. It hasn't really gotten stronger. Just kind of just rumbling about, literally, with a few rumbles of thunder. Wasp killing shoes on, suspended out. Yeah, Shauna, that's a great way to summarize it. Burnsville is safe to go to sleep, Hunter. You can get some rest. Finally, 125, right? That's our greatest curfew ever. For us on this storm, are you talking about the one in Union County? Kayla, don't mean to call you out, but I just want to make sure I'm tracking the right thing for you. Rumbling in Sherman? Yeah. Oh yeah. Right over the top of you guys right now. I guess a little bit north. More of the Blair and Bethany community. Yes, okay. So let's just make sure we have this path right. And we haven't checked speed in a while, so we can look at that one more time. This is going to be, let me do some math. Again, I say math at 1 a.m. on a Sunday night. It's what every kid wants to do, right? So these have slowed down just a bit. I would say 35 miles an hour. So moving much slower than what they were. Earlier they were moving in, or at least the leading one moving at about 50 miles an hour. So comparatively speaking, it's just not picking up as much steam to say. And moving more in a northeast fashion. So we're going to track this entire leading edge all the way into Tishomingo County, and you're seeing a few times listed in there. And there's a look at, I don't know what specific area you're wanting, but boom, there it is. Snap a picture, remember it, and we're going to keep chugging along. Now let's continue to look over here in Franklin County. Still gusty, no doubt. Winds coming in at about 50 miles an hour. We do see some broad rotation, but it's just not exactly that look that you look for with the RFD wrapping around, with the S shape. You're not getting that with that Franklin County storm. So more going to be a wind and hail producer, but we are monitoring it for the potential. still following that outflow. I mean, you can see it right there, basically clear as day. That line looks like a tail just feeding into that inflow. You're definitely getting the instability pushing into the heart of the storm. So would not be surprised at all to see this kind of ratchet up as it moves into more Franklin County and then on into the rest of northwest Alabama. Latest scans coming in, making sure that this is still just going to be a strong thunderstorm, and that's exactly what it looks like. So trees down on County Road 151 in Hayden and Tishomingo County. So that would be right. Let me find 151. I'm going to do a team effort on this one. You know, folks, if there's still folks in Dennis and Belmont watching, is it still gusty around you guys? Because you've been getting these gusts for a hot minute, even though a large portion of this is starting to push out of the area. I'm just curious what you guys are seeing in that eastern Tishomingo County area. We are seeing an uptick on this storm, so it is strengthening just slightly as we enter into Franklin County with the hail potential increasing and winds increasing as well. So this is still going to be breezy heading into Franklin County and the rest of northwest Alabama here in Bethany. I assume you're talking about that second thunderstorm. No, people have called the second round, yes. Um, so yeah, it's just going to be some rumbles of thunder, lightning, things of that nature. I will say there is broad rotation, but far from anything being produced. And the winds are not impressive. Still lots of lightning and wind. So yeah, basically confirming what we're seeing on radar. Hopefully that moves out here pretty quickly because Tishomingo County is just kind of like stalled over the top of you and just built more and more. So you guys ready for a break and hopefully here soon, right? Belmont, thunder and wind, pretty bad. Iuka, anything about Iuka? Be more than happy to answer. Power out in Dennis. You know, with how much wind you guys got, no surprise there. Iuka is go to sleep. No, Kasuth not going to get as bad as the first round. Fortunately, uh, we don't want we don't want a round two, right? Something just turned off and it just made it from noisy to quiet. Oxford, Mississippi, you are in the clear. You should have been asleep a while ago. Red Bay, kind of right over the top of you guys right now. Looks like it stayed primarily north, but I mean, you're right on the fringes of getting some more activity. This continuing to move into Dempsey, Belgreen, and into Russellville. Going to be some gusty winds, especially on the back end of this, but also some hail potential. Hail potential is increasing, and what we mean by that is the size of the hail. You're going to be increasing to anywhere from dime to, I would say, nickel, possible, but that's really what we're getting. Dempsey saying thundering, raining, and wind is picking up. Yeah, you're probably gonna get a little bit worse too whenever it comes to those wind gusts. So just stay home, stay inside your home. Don't get out in this and let this pass on through. I don't see an immediate concern when it comes to a tornadic threat, but gusty winds for sure, especially with the outflow just feeding that storm. Allie, I tell people all the time, don't be nervous about weather, just prepare. And that's what we need, especially heading into Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be our best threat for severe weather and a little bit more widespread. So we'll have more information over the next 24 hours leading into it, and we'll break down a full forecast for you. Timing, impacts, everything you need to know. All forms of severe weather will be possible, and it looks to be an afternoon and into the night threat. I'm not saying it's lasting all night long, but at least a little bit after dark. Guntown in the clear. You can head to bed, Edward. Ayuka can indeed go to bed. Are you saying no tornadoes for right now or no tornadoes for Tuesday? Right now, no, no tornado threat as of this moment. We had a tornado warning whenever it was south of Memphis, but that cleared pretty quick, and there's basically been a wind event here in North Mississippi. Let me look at these winds. Yeah, I would say the tornado threat, I would say the tornado potential with this cell has diminished even more, especially with the angle of the outflow feeding into the storm. Usually, whenever a tornado forms, you'd want it to wrap into um, the cell, feeding into it. It's feeding on the south side of it, so it's not going to see. I mean, the little possibility that it had, kind of out the window. But hail, strong winds for sure. Finally coming down in Dennis. I feel like we need to give a round of applause for it finally wrapping up in southern Tishomingo County. It lingered and lingered and lingered. In Belmont, you should be following suit here soon. And then as it moves into Franklin County, hopefully it just starts to dissipate quickly. We're kind of ready for that, right? It didn't get hail here in Bethany. I didn't really expect that, just because it's entering an environment that is used up. So yes, it's going to have rumbles of thunder. Yes, it's going to have heavy rainfall, but hail development and anything severe, really not expecting that. So starting to calm down in Red Bay. Great. It's great news. Granted, I don't know if it ever got into Red Bay. Well, I guess right there, yeah. But it was really like Red Bay was right on the fringes. Hmm. I'm just looking back over radar. So this is back in the past, but we're getting reports of trees down in the Paden community in Tishomingo County. So they're saying that they happen around 11:30 to 11:50 time frame. And I'm looking back on a few of these scans, and we definitely had a peak in wind right there. And the interaction between the inflow and outflow, the orientation, it's odd because it's not typically where you'd expect it to be with that movement. You'd more want it to be, how do I draw it right here? Right there. This is kind of, let me take this off. This is doing this notion right here, which is almost anticyclonic rotation, which isn't out of the question, but might have had a brief spin up try to happen. I know a few people are still watching in Tishomingo, might even be in that same general area. If you guys have anything, I mean, feel free to let me know if any damage reports, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But yeah, that's the only storm report that we're seeing. Hayden, that's what I was trying to see. Let's see. Samantha, you can go to sleep. Tree split and on cars in Iuka. Do you have an exact location on that in Iuka? Saltillo? Yeah, head to bed. You guys are good to go to bed. Basically, I'll say this. If you live in Mississippi, go to sleep. Sherman, you can go to sleep. Burnsville, you are good to go to sleep. If you live in Mississippi, you are good to go to sleep. Yes, Kinley, you are good to go to sleep. Belmont is good to go to sleep. Yeah, fortunately, those strong winds, I'm not getting a significant amount of reports, but if you do have any reports, please let us know in the chat. We can get those forwarded over. And if you do have any pictures, we can use that as well and send that into National Weather Service for them to check out. Yeah, if you live in Mississippi, go to sleep. You are good to head to bed. Few rumbles of thunder with a few of these cells, but not anything severe. Make it real big. There you go. Oldham area. Remind me of that to look at that in a second, Lisa, to see where exactly that took place. Raining hard here in Baldwin. Yeah, that's that thunderstorm rolling in, but not anything severe, fortunately. Tennessee, these are starting to move more into Tennessee, but weakening out a good bit. Highway 172, a bunch of damage from trees down. Heather, do you have an exact location on where on Highway 172? Senatobia? Are you talking about going to sleep? It's going to sleep. Then yes. Towards the Alabama line. Okay, I'm gonna clear this off. You guys get the message. Mississippi, good to sleep. Um, bear with me while I look at this here real quick. You said 172 or 72? Blocked in by trees. An old area. So would that be right here? Let me just look and see what the winds are like. That was that first thunderstorm, wasn't it? Whenever that happened. That definitely tried. Definitely did try. You guys had a significant thunderstorm move on through. Let's see. So this is that one that tracked from Payton all the way to Oldham. That's definitely something that needs to be looked more into. Just trying to see if there's any clear-cut debris signature. Definitely interesting. Definitely damaging. I mean, just reporting it right there. Red Bay, yeah, picking up again, but I would say that you're not in an immediate severe weather threat. Primary severe weather threat remains out there towards Russellville right now, seeing those strong wind gusts and some larger hail. We're probably up to nickel size and hail right now, moving along 524, or sorry, Highway 24 into Russellville, just riding that outflow boundary like what it's been doing the entire time across Mississippi. Oldham, Oldham. Okay. Tippah County, you are in the clear. You're good to go to bed. Bear with me one moment. I will be back in 1 second.
We tried to make some sports happen. Like, yeah, no, it's pulling highlights if you didn't still later, like so. What video? I'm going to put it in that. I'll put it down. Yeah. But like for other players, I think it's a lot. Well, this week it'll be the results. Yes. Tishomingo and really all of them in the time was how do we work with you as well. And mom knows where you kind of figured out what they have. And then all the background matter, I think because we're still seeing okay. Chelsea can down when you talk to her about the things that I don't have some problems that they should be talking. The origin to yeah, you want those. Yeah, I would like to yeah. Well, if they very good about the final country, I was like, it's so crazy. Yeah. You know what I mean? When you make it look good, well, there. Almost like that. How you done today? We'll see what happens.
All right. Still waiting on this to round itself out over in Franklin County, Alabama. Honestly, looking at the latest scans, I would say that we are in the clear for our entire area. Just this severe thunderstorm warning rounding itself out, but it's moving off into northwest Alabama. So we're probably going to, once I read through this, and bear with me, my eyes are tired, so I have to look closely. All right. Well, it seems like everyone's kind of heading out, but just continue to stay weather aware through Monday and Tuesday, and we'll continue to provide you the latest information that you guys need to know. And of course, here in what, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, our meteorologist Chelsea Simmons walking you through the forecast for your Monday, when those strong storms will move on through, and the potential that they have. Not exactly too high for Monday, but definitely possible. Tuesday, that looks to be our day, so make sure to stay weather aware. As we move further into the forecast and into the active week, or not week, active next couple of days ahead, there is some good news come Wednesday. We'll, of course, give you all that latest information coming up here in a couple of hours.